while you guys are watching the Super Bowl, Senate moves forward with this bill. They voted on Sunday to advance a $95 billion aid package to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, signaling potential success for the bill after a weekend of negotiations. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer expressed determination, stating, "We're going to keep working on this bill until the job is done." No, it's more like saying, we're going to work on this bill while you're watching a Super Bowl. That's what it should say. The vote, passing with 67 votes in favor, marks progress in overcoming procedural hurdles, with Senator Chris Murphy expressing optimism about the bill's eventual passage. Negotiations have been ongoing since Wednesday, with the procedural votes, discussions expected to continue this week, despite previous setbacks, including a bill of $118 billion that failed due to Republicans' opposition to border security provisions. Schumer pushed for a revised bill of $95 billion. By the way, while this is taking place with the $95 billion, Bernie Sanders didn't participate. He didn't support this bill. Bernie's from the left. There was a couple other people that didn't support the bill, but $95 billion on Super Bowl weekend. Adam, your thoughts on that?
Well, here's some just details of that. It passed the Senate 70-29. Now it's going to go to the House. Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, he's going to have a say in this matter. So there'll be some filibustering and there'll be some negotiations, and we'll see what ends up happening here. But here's a breakdown. $60 billion is going to go to Ukraine. The world's happiest man today is Volodymyr Zelensky. He's getting the largest cash infusion we've given since this war started. I think they've collectively given over $100 billion in aid total over the last 2 years, but now there's going to be a potential $60 billion. That'll be the largest infusion of cash they've had since this war has started. $14 billion will go to Israel for their air defense Iron Dome system. $9 billion will go to humanitarian aid in Gaza. I'd like to see that go to the people and not typically what happens, go into the pockets of Hamas, and there's multiple Hamas leaders that are billionaires living in Qatar. So we'll see what happens with that money, because there's 1 million people, refugees, that need to be taken care of in Gaza. Also, $5 billion will go to Taiwan and the China Sea and the Indo-Pacific. $2 billion will go to the Red Sea to face the Houthis and doing what they're doing. But you know, McConnell, I rarely agree with what McConnell has to say, but I'll tell you why I do on this one right now. Leaders lead. U.S. is a global superpower. The conversation that we have, should America be interventionists? Should they be isolationists? And the reality is we don't want a hot war. We don't want to send our troops to war. So if funding and aid is what it takes, humanitarian aid, military aid, cash infusions to conflicts around the world that we actually have vested interest is what it takes, clearly the Senate believes in this, 70-29. Anytime Bernie Sanders votes against something, you might want to take the other side on that, because that guy's very rarely right. McConnell said it's become fashionable in certain circles to disregard global interests as a global power. Our commitment has underpinned the longest drought of major conflict in human history. Idle work for idle minds, but that's no place for the U.S. Senate. So the Senate did not blink, and they're trying to pass this bill. That's what he said. So,
by the way, you want to read Zelensky's tweet?
Yeah, I sent that over, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to pull it up, and Rob, just
so Zelensky said, if you can punch in on that a little bit, Rob. He said, "I'm grateful to Senator Schumer, Chuck Schumer, and Leader Mitch McConnell, and every U.S. Senator who has supported continued assistance to Ukraine as we fight for freedom, democracy, and the values we all hold dear. For us in Ukraine, continued U.S. assistance helps to save human lives from Russian terror. It means that life will continue in our cities and we will triumph over war. Lastly, American assistance brings just peace in Ukraine closer and restores global stability, resulting in increased security and prosperity for all Americans in the free world." I'll read one more quote from one of the 22 Republican senators who voted for this bill, Senator Jerry Moran. He's a Republican from Kansas. He's an America First guy. He's a MAGA guy. He said, emotionally, tearing up, he said, "I believe in America First, but unfortunately, American First means we have to engage in the world. Why? Because our enemies are on the march. So it's always easier to look the other way, but we had to do what we had to do."
Vinnie.
It's at the point where it's unbelievable that like you said, I know when they're doing it, the timing is great. We're all sleeping, and these deals are getting done behind these doors, and we wake up in the morning, it's like, and you hear the number, 95 billion, nobody cares. And this goes to prove my point I said before, and you're talking about these Democrats and Republicans. There's no left, there is no right, there's no Democrats versus Republicans. It's us against them, okay? And I would say, because the only thing, think about it, all people are doing is talking, right? I would say protests, go in the streets, go to Washington, fill that whole place up and be like, no, we're not going to do it. But guess what? Because of January 6th setup, if you even think about going there, they're going to put your ass in jail for 25 years, which I think is one of the main reasons. But it's like, it's our money, bro. When all the busting your ass all day long, all the people, all the hardworking blue-collar people, you're busting your ass, trying to make ends meet. All that tax money is going for that type of shit, and we have no say in it. And I don't know if you guys know about this. Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio, Pat, he wrote an op-ed called The Republican Plot Against Donald Trump, where he lays out the establishment's GOP plot to use Ukraine funding to kneecap Donald Trump. And I read it fast. He said, and I quote, "I've been confident that Donald Trump will be reelected as president, but this is how you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The Republican establishment is going to war for more Ukraine money. They don't care if it's a second term as collateral damage. But of course, they have an insurance plan if Trump pulls it off. Though few have noticed, buried in the bill that they just signed is a kill switch for the next Trump presidency. The legislation explicitly requires funding for Ukraine well into the next presidential term. They're saying to 2026. Okay, the Washington Post has already reported this provision was added to control Trump. Basically saying if he, in the future, says no money for Ukraine, they can impeach him. They can be like, oh, you went against this bill? Kick him out. It's all ridiculous, and I'm just tired of us just not being asleep, Patrick. We have so much going on in our lives. Nobody's really...
Do you support that money being sent?
Well, this is my question, and this is what I want to get your guys' opinion on. You know, I said at the very beginning of the war, I'm not a fan of just invading a country and doing nothing about it, okay? But how much money do we spend here? How much money do we spend in Afghanistan? How much money do we spend in Iraq? How much troops? How many civilians died? So I'm not in favor of hot wars or anything like that, but U.S. as a global superpower, we can't do nothing. You know, I know it's a sort of in vogue to say zero. Nobody gets anything. 0 for Ukraine, 0 for Israel, 0 for Taiwan, 0 for our allies. But that's not what leaders do. I understand 56% of the GOP says we're doing too much in Ukraine. And I understand that concept. Only 11% say we're not doing enough. But my question is, how much? How much? You know, everyone's favorite senator who's not running for re-election.
You didn't ask. I asked the question.
Yep.
Do you support this bill? Do you support us continuously sending money their way while many of these guys, this is their war. We're fighting their war and they're not paying the bill. We're paying the bill for NATO and Russian European allies to be protected. Why are we taking the debt for this? Do you support that?
There needs to be an understanding here that we can't just continue to have a blank check. But to say 0, I feel like minimalizes U.S.'s power in the world as a global superpower. So what are the ripple effects of saying nothing? So we're just okay with Putin invading Ukraine and taking over Ukraine? Are we just okay with Xi invading Taiwan? Are we just okay with terrorism running rampant around the globe? Because if we don't do anything, what happens? What happens? Look at what's going on in the Middle East. If we step away, power vacuums are formed. And all of a sudden, our enemies that are running rampant around the world will step in and fill that vacuum.
So your fear is that if we don't do anything, Putin's going to get stronger. That's what your fear is.
I think doing nothing sends a signal to autocrats around the world that U.S. will do nothing when we do what we want to do.
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do when Russia went from spending 80% when it was trade dollars, using U.S. dollars, to now down to 13%, and the transaction went from only 3% being won to now 30%. What are you going to do when we keep spending this money and printing the money, and then all of a sudden one day the dollar collapses, then you're being affected by the money? Are you now going to come back and say, I wish we wouldn't have sent all this money out there? Because the way this typically works is when we all become involved parties is when it starts making direct impact to us. When we start feeling direct impact, then we say what? well, you know, I don't know if we're doing the right thing with this or not. You know, it's not cool. Like this whole thing with Governor Hochul. What does she say?
Kathy Hochul.
Kathy Hochul, whatever her name is, Governor Hochul.
New York.
She says, you know, we welcome you. We welcome you, right? Over here, we appreciate you. And then they're like, oh, really? Okay. Here's a few thousand illegal migrants. No. You guys got to leave. Eric Adams, no. You guys got to leave. Oh, what happened? Oh, when you're not directly impacted by it, it's a noble thing to do. The moment, boom, it hits your security and safety and your finances, then you're like, nah, man, I'm not for this. So all I'm saying is for us, in a situation like this, as much as they trashed the guy, the previous president, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. You know, there was no wars going on. Now we got all these wars going on. Who's making all the money here? And on the back end, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, I don't know, whichever one it was, Rob, if you can pull these guys up, they're getting a $400 billion contract to rebuild Ukraine. Type in $400 billion rebuild Ukraine, okay?
It's like the Marshall Plan on steroids.
Is this the one, Rob? It's a story that was written about. If you can go back, it'll be one of the stories. You type in news. You just type in news, you'll see it. So $400 billion, these guys are like, fantastic right there. No, that's not it. It's another one. I'll find it. I'll send it.
You're right.
While he's pulling it up, can I
Pat's
just
right.
respond?
It's like Halliburton got in Iraq 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what you do, your analogy with Kathy Hochul in New York, Governor of New York, I think is spot on. So I'm not going to give you pushback. That what I will say is what you're talking to is about the BRICS. You know, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. We'll see what happens with that. Putin mentioned that in the interview as well. That is a concern of the U.S. dollar and the crumbling of the U.S. dollar, but that's been ongoing well before the Russian war. Sanctions in U.S. dollar. Russia's been, when was BRICS originally formed? 2005? Find that, Rob. So this war, as much as it is sort of coalesced in that conversation, that is, 2009. The war started in Ukraine in 2002. So the BRICS, that's already been formulated prior to what's going on here. But yes, it is exacerbating the problem, no doubt.
But isn't it unbelievable?
Can you just pull it up to just show the $400 billion, Rob?
Yeah.
Just go to the link you just showed real quick.
Isn't it unbelievable though, Adam? Last week it was $118 billion. Let's protect our border. Oh, with Ukraine and Russia. Now it's to hell with the border. We don't give a shit about us. We have to help them. And if you're not asking the question of why, it's unbelievable. Hold on, Adam, because you said you still didn't really answer the question. Are you cool with the $95 billion? Are you cool with that? Just going?
Well, listen.
Yes or no?
I'm not cutting that check. But
no,
okay,
yes, you are.
The hell you aren't.
Yeah, you are.
So hold on.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, just relax. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How much money should we send our allies around the world? You give me a number. Let's say I'm cool with the 95. I'm cool with it.
You're cool with it?
Tell me how much.
I'm me
Just
personally.
answer
absolutely zero.
Okay.
Hold on. Absolutely zero.
So you're an isolationist.
No. I am an America first. America first. Our border, Adam. How can we? We're a sinking ship.
We can still deal with the border in a separate bill.
Bullshit. No, we can't.
You guys are talking out of both sides of your mouth, and I'll tell you why.
How?
Because you're like, it's called the border bill, but all the money went to Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan. Okay, cool. So now the border bill can be addressed independently as a single issue. Have the fucking debate.
Adam, let me ask this. And by the way we're feeling is the way America's feeling. Okay? Meaning, some are feeling like him, some are feeling like me, some are feeling like you and Tom. But America's feeling like this. This is not just a conversation that's taking place here. Here's a question I want to ask you. Okay? So, let's just say your kids are going to private school. Okay? And you're down to your last $22,000 in the bank. You and your wife are married. You got 3 kids. Okay? And you had a setback. Your wife had a job. She got fired. She was bringing in $82,000 a year. Okay. And you can't count on that now. That 82 is gone. And you need to find a way to pay for this bill to go to school this next month, $1,500. Let's say it's $2,500, $800 a kid, right? I come to you and I say, hey, Adam, I need $6,000. And you say, what do you mean you need $6,000? I need $6,000. Before you give me the $6,000, who are you going to talk to? Your wife.
Probably going to talk to your wife. Yeah.
Which you're supposed to do that. So you go talk to your wife, and you say, hey, babe, Pat needs money, man. I want to give him $6,000. What do you think your wife's going to say?
We need that money for our kids.
She's going to say, babe, are you kidding me? We have $20,000. We're down to 20. We had 100 last year. I had a job. I lost it. That 82,000. I can't get another job. The bill is due. How are you going to pay that $2,500? You want to give Pat $6,000? I know he's your friend. I know you want to help him. But, bro, you got to pay your 25 for the kids first. You're like, no, I'm going to pay to Pat first. What is the responsible thing for you to do?
Well, it sounds like your kids aren't going to private school anymore. It sounds like they need to be enrolled in public school at that point if that's the only money you have to life.
Perfect. Okay, let's go there as well. By the way, you're even taking my argument to a better place. I agree. So guess what? Let's remove some entitlement programs we have in America.
Sure.
Let's play that card. So now you put them in public school. So now your wife's convinced you to take your kids out of private school, put them in public school. Are you still giving me the $6,000?
Well, it depends on what your $6,000 is for. Am I getting return on my investment?
Okay, so now you're thinking from the perspective of investment. This is not an investment. You're not going to get the money back.
This is if Trump wants this to be a loan,
you are not getting this money back. No, that's BS. This is not a money coming back. You're never going to see a penny of me ever again. And you've been giving me money.
You're investing in the global world order.
You're investing.
No, there's no chaos.
You're investing in
We're
friend.
just not gonna like the Houthi situation. We're just gonna let them just
stay here.
Run like rebels in the Red Sea.
No, this is not Houthis. Russia's not Houthis.
That's part of it.
Stay with this.
That's part of it.
So let's just say you give me the money, okay?
Yeah.
And you keep giving me the money. What I do is by you giving me the money is my wife and I, we have a lesser chance of being separated. I stop calling you and bitching about my finances. So now you're like, well, Mom, babe, I'm giving them the money so they can stay together. Meanwhile, your wife is like, bro, you may not stay together with me of what you're doing. So you trying to save here is affecting your life. That's what American people are having a hard time with. They're having a hard time with this concept to say, you just fooled us. You told us a border bill, and everybody in the media said, look at the Republicans. They say they want to help the border, but none of them give a shit about the border, right? And America bought it. Then 3 weeks later, after you call it a border bill, 2 weeks later, after you call it a border bill, you simply remove $20 billion out of it, $23 billion out of it, which the $23 billion was supposed to go to the border. Now you say, no, it's only a $95 billion bill. It's Ukraine, Taiwan, and what do you call it, Israel. What's the point? You never had the intention of fixing the border. You wouldn't, and by the way, and then when you say the following, you're like, well, let's first fix this, and then we'll go fix the border. No, let's fix the border first, then let's go fix the world problem.
I agree with you. Okay. I would rather them pass a border bill before this bill.
Then perfect.
I'm with that.
But they're not doing
But that's not what they proposed.
That's not the point.
You're asking which one I'd rather do. I'd rather do both.
No. You
it's
said
called domestic and foreign agenda.
You said.
So you guys are acting like we can only in America first.
Adam, I'm simply stating what you said. You said. Let's first get this $95 billion, and then let's go focus on the border.
No,
how's the border not the first one?
Am I a freaking senator? Am I the person proposing this bill? We're reacting to the news of the day. They passed this bill in the Senate. That's what we're discussing. Believe me, I would much rather them focus on the border, but they're not. Why? Ask yourself why they're not putting the border first.
Because they don't give a shit about us. They
we know the Democrats want an open border policy, and Trump, what is Trump doing? Basically saying, do not pass a border bill. Why? Because it's politics. But he doesn't want a border bill because he wants to run on the fact that migrants are running into our country like it's a open border situation, which it is. So he wants to run on that.
Yeah. Adam, let me say
That's his agenda. I would much rather, to be super freaking clear here, I would much rather them pass a border bill first. But that's not what they did. They did a foreign aid package.
Yeah.
So we're commenting on that.
But the trend, the continuous trend is the world comes before America.
Yep.
That's the continuous trend. That is the level of frustration with the American people.
Thank you.
That the world comes before America. That is bullshit. If you and I are friends, no matter how good of a friend I am to you, your wife comes first. Your kids comes first. You take care of your family. Then if you can help me, help me. But my job, your job is to take care of your family first. The job of somebody here, if I have the resources I'm investing into Valuetainment and PBD Podcast and David Consulting and Minect and everything we're building, imagine if I'm like, nah, forget about this money. Let me do it here. Let me give it to this guy. Let me give it to this guy. And then we get smaller. We have fewer resources. The reason why we have more resources here is because we keep reinvesting into it. America's not reinvesting in protecting us at the southern border, but you don't feel it because there is no southern border in Miami. There is no southern border in Fort Lauderdale. There is nobody coming from the bottom except for maybe Cuba, and we haven't had that since the Muriel boat lift in 1979. We don't have that here, so it's not felt. Rest of America is feeling it, and it's getting very frustrating where politicians are manipulating. Now, if this goes to the House, and what do they need, 218? They need 218? What was the number they said? If they need 218, and I don't know if it's going to pass or not, but if this passes, this is more of a reason where you see this is not about Republicans and Democrats. This is all about establishment and anti-establishment, because if Republicans don't have the backbone to stand strong to say, we will entertain a bill like this after we deal with the border, after we protect us first, then there is no lack of a proper negotiation there. No one's doing a strong arm negotiation from the Republican side. The Republicans should stick together and say, listen, man, fix the damn border first, then let's talk Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. But that's not what they did. So that's not what we're talking about.
No, we are.
Believe me, the old I can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Really?
I'm not arguing with you right here. I would much rather the Senate propose a border bill first.
But isn't it unbelievable that they didn't have them?
We're in agreement here.
I know.
Guys.
I'm with you.
You're acting like I'm fucking being an asshole. I agree with you.
You are.
No.
Okay, how am I being an asshole, Tom? Because I'm commenting on the fact.
Let's hear what Tom has to say.
You're not
Go ahead,
commenting.
Tom.
You're not commenting. You've been running over people for 20 damn minutes, and you've reset arguments. Oh, so we do nothing. That's such a lazy retort. Why don't we come back to what's going on here? This is establishment versus anti-establishment. Anti-establishment. We want a line item veto. We want a balanced budget amendment, so this can't go on unchecked. Establishment. It's not a bill. It's a deal. And a deal contains all kinds of other provisions, as you just pointed out, that J.D. Vance said in an op-ed, and he's absolutely correct. There's earmarks. There's provisions. There's pork. There's a bunch of stuff. And then they put a branding on it to flow to the media to deceive you and redirect your attention from what's really going on in there. Do I think there should be money for Iron Dome in there? I do. But to get Iron Dome, does somebody that feels that strongly about it say, oh, but I also have to agree to this? That's the way these deals are made. They're not bills anymore. They're establishment deals that have a bunch of stuff in them. And I'm sure Zelensky is very pleased that he got the relief from it, because the spring collection from Louis Vuitton is looking pretty good. And they're going to there'll be corruption, and they're buying, and they're doing these things. It's flowing out. It's terrible. I go back to what Trump said about NATO, and your argument, I think, was lazy. What, do we do nothing? No, we don't do nothing. Trump said, I'm all in on NATO. You are our friends, you are our allies. But in the middle of his administration, what did he say? You have to pick up the check, and I want you to pay your fair share. And Trump was back, I got stuff with my country that I'm going to deal with first. I'm not going to leave you behind. I'm not going to abandon my foreign policy and my friends and my allies, but I'm going to take care of America first. But you, if I participate and I help you in NATO, you got to pick up the check. These were not island nations with two palm trees with a hut. These were thriving economies that have resources and the ability to pay the check. And they wanted us to just keep flowing it out. That's why he went toe-to-toe with Germany and said, pick up the check. That is foreign policy. America first, work on the things in America, work on the things that matter to us, and on the foreign stage, find an equitable way. That one thing I'll correct you on, Vinny, one thing. You said tax money. It's not tax money. It's future debt, and it's big stacks of it that affects the long-term monetary system with an impact, which is exactly what happens with Russia shifting the currencies they're using to do trade. It's all interconnected. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little upset here, but Tom, I've been quiet for 20 minutes, and I'm telling you, I think we got to keep our eye on the ball and what's really going on here.
Tom, I appreciate your passion and your wisdom. I do. But, Vinny wants to give zero.
Yep.
Cool. That's Vinny's opinion.
Yep.
Zero money for anybody. Let's say there is a border bill. Let's just say there is. We all should hope one. We all want that, yes? You said that you would support the Iron Dome. Okay, they're going to give how much? $14 billion to Israel. Tell me an amount.
I said the guys that supported Iron Dome get cornered and they have to vote on a deal.
I get it.
It's not a bill. It's a deal.
Okay, a bill, a deal. I get it. It's a proposal.
But it's a bunch of money for other stuff.
It's a foreign aid package. It's a bill. It's a deal where it's semantics.
Foreign aid.
It's not semantics. If I want to help
Tom, here's
Israel,
my
and I
question.
said, why can't we just
Whatever.
vote on that? Senator Tom, I'm not going to let you vote on Iron Dome. If you want Iron Dome, then I got to get this. And I'm cornered. That's the way it works.
I understand that. So how much money would you give to Ukraine? How much money would you give to Taiwan? How much money would you give to Israel? How much money would you give to these allies of ours? Vinny's at 0. How many are you at? The U.S. Senate is at 95.
I don't have a budget in front of me, but the first thing I'd be taking care of is the United States of America and our border.
We've already
people
said that.
And our taxpayers.
You're evading the question.
So, I'm not evading the question.
Foreign aid policy.
I don't
Vinny's
have
at 0. The U.S. Senate is at 95.
Yeah.
What number are you at?
Ukraine is the most resource rich and corrupt country. We could have given them support and give them things and give them arms and also have a way for them to pay it back and have them a way to participate in the solution. Do I have a spreadsheet to tell you what I would do? How much would you do?
Tom, you're the biz doc. You probably do have a spreadsheet.
No, I don't. But I would take care of America first, and I would make a rational approach.
But let me ask you a question. Say he says $5 billion. Say he says $20 billion. What's your follow-up question? I'm actually curious what your follow-up question is.
I want to know if his number's 0 is what I'm trying to get at. Is the number 0?
I just said it wasn't 0.
My number is absolutely 0. Adam, ready for this? And once we're fixed, then we can have a talk and we can loan people money and shit. But I don't understand why it's so absurd to hear somebody like me saying, fix us first. To hell with everybody else. Wait till when are you going to be happy? When some negative shit, something blows up, or some effed up shit happens here, then we're going to go, oh wait, that money that we
coming soon.
To hell with that shit, because that's the real problem. Is that because I have a story on that too? That's coming, and then when that happens, then everybody's tune's going to change and go, oh, I'm still wearing my Ukraine pin. To hell with everybody else until we're fixed first. And guess what, Americans, when I was saying, what can we do? How about you said, it's not our tax money. It is our future jet, but Tom, we're going to pay it with our taxes. How about, and I know we will
we're never going to pay it.
Americans,
we're going to be inflated
stop paying our taxes. If everybody just said, you know what? April, whatever, we're not paying shit, because you know what the situation is? It's almost like you have a piggy bank in your house, but your parents keep taking the money out of the piggy bank and they go across the street to give it to those kids to fight the neighbors. Bullshit. That's our money, bro. That's my money in there. And I don't, it boggles my mind that more people aren't like, time out. F Zelensky, F him coming here with his vest and his pins and all them kissing his ass. It's about war. It's about money. It's about Vanguard. It's about State Street. That's why I'm furious at him. I'm not saying don't give them money, never. Until we're fixed, time out. Time out. Leave us the fuck alone. Sorry for my language.
And by the way, can you go to Rob? That $411 billion World Bank said, I don't think we covered that yet. Just go to it right there. World Bank puts cost of rebuilding Ukraine at $411 billion. Okay, interesting. Then click the other story that you pulled up as well. I think it's right next to it, Rob, where it tells you who got the $400 billion contract. And right after Russia, okay, so there you go. The government of Zelensky, government of President Zelensky has announced it has called upon the consulting branches of BlackRock, Chase, as well as McKinsey & Company to help set up a fund of reconstruction. What an interesting thing to do. Great business model, right? Swindle money from this place to go into this place, to go into that place, to go into this place. So let's talk about this. Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Finances, family issues will happen, right? Everybody has a family member that goes through stuff. We all have friends that go through stuff. And we have people that we support financially. Everybody does it. You do it, I do it, we've all done it, right? There's a difference between a friend calls who has never called you, and they say, hey, man, I'm embarrassed to even make this phone call. You ever had a call like that? You've had a call like that? Yeah.
Too often these days, right. To be honest with you, Pat.
I'm with you, because and they say, hey, man, I'm embarrassed to make this call, bro, but it's bad. I need $5,000. If this guy's never asked you, you may entertain it. And my rule is basic. I would say, look, man, I'm not going to lend you anything. Here's $2,000. But never paid back, but I'm not going to give you more. But this is yours. I don't want a loan back. Keep the money, right? Another guy calls you. Okay, $500. Hey, 500, keep it, but you don't need to come back to me. I'm going to help you out, right? Okay. But then there's these two people in your life that every year knock on your door. And every year you have now trained them to keep coming back asking you for money. That's the problem. For me, we need resources. God forbid something happens with Maduro in Venezuela and he decides to hurt his people and do something terrible. And we need to figure out a way to support some of the people there. Well, we haven't had to do that for many years. We'll go out there and say, hey, here's $5 billion. We're going to help Colombia to make sure, here's $10 billion. Hey, Armenia's going through this. Let's support these Armenian people that they're being bullied by Azerbaijan and Turkey. We'll support. Hey, these guys are going through this. We'll support it. But Afghanistan was the case study to realize $2.5 trillion we spent. What happened? Nothing. That case study should teach us a lesson to not do this again here. For me, I want to see results. What are we really giving money for? Or do they have a chance of winning this war?
Nope.
And at what cost are we willing to go to? Are we willing to spend everything for them to win the war? Is the answer yes or no? The answer to me is no. I'm not willing to spend everything for them to win the war. Does that mean we go into that? I want to first find out data-wise, do you even have a chance of beating these guys? We have intelligence. We have CIA. We can find out what's going on. How come we're not taking a decision from that standpoint? Why are we not talking about if we can even win the war or not? If you're not going to win the war, why do I keep funding you? And then this goes to
You don't think those strategists have had those conversations with senators?
I don't think so.
You don't think that there's advisors on the ground
I don't
saying,
think
here's
so.
what's going on here?
I actually don't
You
think
they're
so.
just going in blind?
I actually don't think.
Really? Okay.
They don't have a chance. Ukraine does not have a chance.
Really?
I actually don't think so. I think this is a bigger thing to protect NATO, to show loyalty there, to own them. And I think this is a business play of these guys coming in and doing what they're doing because the guys on the back end are saying, hey, keep doing this because we're going to come and do the $411 million and we'll support you on your this and that. I think there's a lot of stuff going on behind.
So this is one big Ponzi scheme is what you guys are saying.
Oh, Ponzi schemes have been going on for many years used through politicians. There's been many great movies and documentaries built on this where money flows through one person and goes into somebody else's pocket. 5 of his generals or colonels were caught with how much money? $40 million?
Yeah.
And that's the one that's caught. You saw this story. I don't know if you've seen the story or not.
Openly driving Bentleys?
Yeah.
Could I ask you a question really fast? What's the Ukrainian, the people on the ground? You never really hear, how are they feeling about this?
Ukraine says corrupt officials stole $40 million to buy arms for the war employees of Ukraine from conspired embezzle $40 million to buy shields.
Yeah. What's $40 million? Not that I'm condoning that. What's $40 million on $160 billion?
But the right question isn't.
0.001%.
But the right question isn't that. The question is, these dummies and idiots got caught. How about the guys that are brilliant who didn't get caught? How much money did they steal?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know about.
These are valid questions.
Yeah.
This is a valid
my question is, because I spoke with a Ukrainian guy that I know at the gym. You know, the sentiment of Ukrainians are like, they don't want this shit. They don't want this freaking war that Ukraine. That
no shit, they don't want this war.
But guess what? But hold on. But why did it start, Adam? What did we not provoke? Like everything was chill, and then all of a sudden, shit hit the fan. What happened?
What year?
What happened? What do you mean? I'm saying when he really went into Ukraine.
Nothing was chill in Ukraine since 2014. That's a whole nother conversation.
I understand
about toppling regimes and regime change.
But it's
one thing I can condone, no doubt, is I don't want American troops at war like we did in Iraq, like we did in Afghanistan. I don't want that. Yeah. So if it has to fund other people's wars, Russia has run out of so many military personnel that they're now basically recruiting people from Nepal to come fight with them. Did you hear about that? Fox News reported on that. They got Nepalese infantry guys coming in there right now. The people of Russia don't want this war either. Okay, the Russian army is estimated to have recruited more than 200 Nepali nationalists to fight in Ukraine. Is Nepal anywhere near Russia? No. Okay, but this is what they have to resort to. This is Putin's war against the West.
Some of you guys have been asking about PBD Podcast gear. We finally have it. Here's your PBD Podcast gear you were asking about. That mug, if you order today the PBD Podcast hat or the PBD Podcast shirt combined together, you get the mug for free on the house. We'll send it over to you. And remember, if supply you order over $70, shipping is free. And this mug you see me holding right now, when you put a hot coffee or hot tea or hot water in it, it turns into the PBD Podcast colors that we got. So if you're at the office working If you want to go brag about the fact that you listen to content and you can entertain opposing ideas and see it could spark a conversation with others, go get yourself the hat, the shirt, and we'll send a mug over to you.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.